Jason Shank.
Good morning, Dana.
Good morning, Jason. How's everything in Cleveland?
Bright and shiny.
Good.
No
Good.
problems in the world.
Good for you.
How about Akron? Or, oh, I'm sorry, not Akron. You're Canton.
Easy now. Easy. Life is good in Canton, except we need more work.
Good morning, everybody.
Morning, Jocelyn.
Good morning.
Morning, good morning.
Give a few more minutes until we get started.
Sounds good.
All right, we've got about 30 people on the line, which is what I was expecting. So we'll go ahead and get started. The webinar should take about 45 minutes. What we're gonna do is go over the guidelines briefly. I am gonna play the grant video. So if you've already seen it, apologies in advance, but if you haven't, it's a really good video to show you the process. That's about a 7-minute video. And then we will go through the steps of actually applying for the COVID grant. So the UA and the ITF are really excited to offer this opportunity to all the local education funds. You know, when COVID first hit, the UA, ITF, you know, we were really worried about man hours. We know some locals fared okay during these last few months, while others had high unemployment rates. We were really nervous how that would affect the ITF because our fund is based off of hours worked, of course. We haven't seen the effects of that yet, but that's mainly because we are about 3 to 4 months in the rears from when the money actually hits, the 10 cents actually hits the ITF account. So we did just receive our August contribution deposit, and that was mostly for the months of April and some of May. And we were down about, you know, $400,000, which, you know, would equate to about 4 million man hours. And we expect, you know, the next few months as we get into the fall here to be a little bit lower on the ITF side. But with that said, you know, we did have to cancel instructor training program. We haven't had any travel from the staff, the training specialist. You know, all our regional classes have been moved online. VIP programs had kind of halted for a little bit. And after we did take that dip in the stock market, it came back up. So the ITF does have some funding that we wanted to make available to the locals to help with the safe reopening of the training centers. This was an idea that Mark McManus and Jim Pavasic came up with, and the Board of Trustees, we had a special meeting last month to talk about it and throw some numbers around, and they thought it was a great idea. The expenses on PPE, sanitizer, signage, all of that, you know, we've had to purchase a lot of stuff for the ITF office, for the VIP programs, and it's not cheap. So we, you know, hope that this can help a little bit. You know, it's not a huge grant, but it hopefully will help take a little bit of that burden off and some of these unexpected expenses that have come up when, you know, work may be down a little bit. So with that being said, I'm going to share my screen here and go over the grant guidelines, and then we'll go into the video. So. Okay, so these were sent out last week from Jim Pavasic's office, and, you know, kind of goes to what I just said about helping the schools do a safe reopening. Typically when the ITF offers, well, almost always when the ITF offers a grant, we are very strict with the accounting and paperwork that goes with it. We did get a one-time pass from our legal fund and our accountants that when we grant this money, we are not going to require any proof of purchases or receipts on the back end. You are going to be responsible for accounting for all of that on your own. And, you know, in case ever an audit or anything like that were to come up. Additionally, you know, the guidelines are pretty flexible on what you can spend this money on. You know, the obvious things, as I've already mentioned, are the PPE, face masks, hand sanitizer, cleaning supplies, some proper distancing signage. But in addition to that, you know, we realize that there may be some, you know, you might share textbooks in your classrooms or hand tools and want to purchase some extra sets of those so that they're not going from hand to hand with your students. You know, some locals said that they have their welders share weld hoods. So if you need to purchase a couple weld hoods, and then with a lot of classes going online virtually, you can even use this to purchase some extra laptops, Chromebooks, maybe even iPads. This could be your one and only time to use ITF money for the purchase of iPads, if that's going to assist with your safe reopening and virtual learning. The only requirement that we have for this grant is that you upload a roster of your UA registered apprentices, including their UA card number and initiation date. You know, we've always asked the survey question in our current grant system, and we'll continue to always ask this on when you register apprentices. The UA has always wanted locals to register apprentices day one. They've encouraged that, and we know that some locals do it within 30 days, 90-day probationary period, as far as up to 1 year. So unfortunately, if your apprentices do not have a UA card number, they will not be eligible for the count on this grant. And we're going to offer $5,000 as a minimum for most locals, but depending on your apprentice number of apprentices, and perhaps if you have more than one training school, you may be eligible for a few $1,000s more. So that list of registered apprentices is important to guarantee that you get the most out of this ITF grant. We also understand that, you know, you may have just turned out a class in June, and so as of today, you're down a class on your apprentice count, and then perhaps September 1, you're starting your new class. We will take your highest period of apprentices. You can't double count the apprentices for, you know, June and then add in your new class on September. But if you had a big class you turned out in June and maybe are taking a smaller class in this fall due to you know, COVID and all of that, you know, we can use your June numbers. And when we get your roster, we are going to cross-reference it with the UA membership database just to validate that the numbers are pretty close there. So we do have our brand new grant system, which we are super excited about. This has been in the works for me for years and years and years, but we did start building it in the last 2 years. And it has a lot of neat features we're really excited about. We're finally going to move away from the fax system. You're going to have the ability to upload quotes, you know, financial statements, CPAs, all those things you've had to send us in the past via fax. You'll now have the ability to do it through this system. But right now we are just going to debut it for this COVID grant. And we are doing that intentionally because we have the opportunity to have, you know, hopefully all 240 some US locals apply for this grant, and they'll all get to create their local education fund, which we'll get into the steps on how to do that. And we get to start kind of from scratch. Our old system has a lot of, you know, crap data. We may have your education fund named as, you know, Local 1 plumbers, when meanwhile it's, you know, Local 1 joint apprenticeship training fund plumbers or something like that. And, you know, your EIN we may have on file as 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So now we'll get the opportunity to have clean and accurate data going forward. And then this also gives you the opportunity to give us some feedback and maybe make some tweaks to the system when we roll it out for the full grant application process. We welcome feedback, and you know, we want to make this as easy as possible for you as the user to use. So, you know, please feel free throughout this process to give a call, shoot me an email on whether it's something glitchy, like a bug, you know, you receive an error message or unable to do something, or if there's something that's not user intuitive, you know, we would welcome that feedback. So the grant site is itf.uanet.org. We know that this is another website that you have to have a login for and a password. You know, probably the biggest question I've gotten over the last few days here is, you know, either they couldn't find it because you're on UANet. If you're an instructor for us, as soon as you start typing ITF, it may take you to the ITF instructor site. You know, we have OLR sites, Blackboard, all of that, but this is itf.uanet.org. And the plan with this website is that it'll eventually be a one-shop application for all the training resources. So hopefully over the next few years, we're going to add the certifications piece to it. We'll add registrations to it for instructor training program, regional. This will be your portal as a training coordinator to come into and do everything training related. So let's go ahead and start with the video. I did talk to Scott Wenger from Local 400 up in Wisconsin. He's on the line here with us right now and gave me his permission to use his local as a tester in our test site. So I am logged in as him. We have Scott here. You know, when you log in, you're going to see your dashboard. It's going to show you who your international rep is, your business manager. We are using this title JTC lead. We had to come up with almost an additional role for training directors and coordinators because many locals have a training director and then they have a training coordinator, and we needed to indicate who was the top dog that would be, you know, responsible for the training side of the local. So that role is listed here. Eventually, when we bring over data from the current system, you'll be able to view your total amount requested to date for your local, what's been approved, and what's ultimately been granted. We added up here a resource tab, and this is going to be a really useful tool for you guys for this grant. And then once we start accepting true grants, this is going to have everything you need right here. We have the video, we have a user manual that's pretty comprehensive, but I feel if you read it, it will answer a lot of questions for you. We have the grant guidelines. Right now, these are the PDF we were just looking at specific to the COVID safety grant, but will eventually be updated with you know, general grant guidelines. We have our commonly requested items. This is the list you're used to seeing about the decision the board of trustees has made on certain items, such as, you know, forklifts never being approved, build outs being at 30%, things like that. We also have some new documents here with the application steps, you know, what's going to be your process for starting a grant application. So you can read through that to get familiar. We'll also have your grant from start to finish. This is going to be a useful tool. These are the states of your grant, and you will have the ability throughout your grant from initiation, application until approval and then disbursement to see where your grant is in the state. You know, whether it's in Jim Pavlicek's queue, waiting to assign a training specialist, whether a training specialist has been assigned and they're working on it, or if it's queued up for the Board of Trustee meeting. All right, I am going to hit this video here.
Hi, my name is Kevin Taylor, and I'm going to show you how to complete a grant request using the International Training Fund system. First, go to itf.uanet.org to log in. Once logged in, you should land on your local union's homepage, which will resemble the example homepage you see here. Logging in for the first time, the first thing you should do as a business manager or a JTC lead is click on the Users tab. Now, you go here to provide access to others in your organization that will need access to this system. By looking under the access column, I can see that my OP does not have access to this system. So I can click on his name, click on local grant users to provide him access, and then click the save button. After clicking save, I can use my list button to go back and view the rest of my users. Notice that this person has a yes under the access column. So this means that this person now has access to the system. Now, in order to complete my grant request, I have to first add a local education fund. So I do this by clicking my local education funds link and then clicking the Add New button. Once you're here, read the instructions before beginning. I'm going to add my local education fund name, my EIN, established date, then I'm going to answer the sales tax exempt question. If the fund is sales tax exempt, I would answer yes to this question and upload my tax exempt documentation along with my W-9 form. In this case, the fund is not tax exempt, so I'm going to answer no and upload my W-9 only. After uploading the W-9, add the individuals that you want associated with this fund. The users added here will have access to this local education fund and any grants associated with it. Select the person that the ITF may reach out to if they have any questions about the local education fund. Enter their contact information and then click Save. If you have any questions about what should be entered on this page or any questions about the W-9, please consult your user manual. Begin your grant request by clicking the Add New Grant Request button. Select the local education fund related to this grant from the local education fund list. Then read the guidelines. There are a few documents listed in the guidelines that can serve as a reference while completing the grant request. Commonly requested items and the new ITF grant application steps. I suggest reviewing both documents before continuing with the rest of the process. After reviewing the guidelines, click the I have read and agreed checkbox in the bottom right-hand corner, and then click Save. On the next page, you'll notice several module items within the Request module. Guidelines module item is checked because the step is now complete. The module items serve as a guide explaining where you are in the process. You can easily go back to a previous step in the process by clicking on one of the module items. In this step, add a few more details about your education fund and then upload your financial statement, which should provide information about your fund's assets and liabilities. After uploading your financial statement, click Next to continue to the next step. Next, you will complete a short grant survey while providing the ITF with just a bit more information about your education fund and your training program. The questions seen here are only examples. These may not be the questions you see when you complete this step. Some questions may present other questions when answered, so be sure to look out for that and complete each numbered question completely before moving on to the next question. Once you've completed the survey, click Next to continue to the next step. Notice the check marks in the completed module items. I've completed the first three, now I'm on the ITF contribution page. If your collective bargaining agreement has specific language referring to a contribution to the International Training Fund, select Yes for this question and upload a copy of the page or pages containing this specific language. If not, you would simply select No and then click Next. Describe the purpose of your grant request in the text box provided. You also have the option of uploading an existing document that already describes the purpose, but we prefer that you type it in the text box as provided here. Once that's complete, click Next to move to the next step. In this step, you will select the catalog item to be added to this grant request. You can find the item by scrolling through the list of catalog items here, or you can type the name of the item in the description column and then select it from the list. In this case, I'm adding desktop computers. So currently we need 5 desktop computers. So in the quantity, I'm going to go ahead and type 5. And I'm going to select my shipping address, click Add Item, and then click OK. To finalize your grant request submission, click Submit to ITF, read through the confirmation terms, and then click Agree. If you get stuck along the way or if you have any questions, please consult your user manual first. Otherwise, you can contact us at itfgrants@uanet.org. Thanks for watching.
All right, so pretty straightforward, but we will now go through the steps on our side here. What your first step is going to do when you log in is access the user tab. Right now, only the business manager and the JTC lead has been granted access to the grant application system. If there is an office professional or an assistant coordinator, somebody else that you want the ability to be able to come in here and look up grants, upload documents that are required, or even start the grant application process, you would go into their user tab and mark them as yes as a local grants user and save that. If you don't see a user in this list, what you'll need to do is contact your business manager and have them submit a request for that individual to have a UA username. These are all brought over from the membership database where the business manager has requested over the years for these individuals to have UA names. So now we see that, well, it didn't say, but it should have that Kayla now has grants permissions. So after you've done your users and put who you would like to access the grant, we're going to create the local union education fund. You're going to click Add New here and enter in the name, the legal name of your education fund. You are going to put the EIN number here and your establishment date. I kind of teased in the last webinar that this would be Lou Malone in your ear saying, pull out that trust document, make sure you have a copy readily accessible, because this is where you're going to have your establishment date. For example, the International Training Fund is in April of 1956. So that's the date we're looking for here. And then we've also asked whether you're sales tax exempt or not. This helps us know, the typical rule of the ITF is that we do not reimburse sales tax because most of your funds should be sales tax exempt. However, we do realize that in some states, education or nonprofit organizations are not sales tax exempt. The other thing it gives us the ability is some of our vendors through the ITF catalog, since we're the purchaser, the ITF is only sales tax exempt in the state of Maryland. So if it is shipped to another location, we are typically charged sales tax. We do have some vendors that will work with us and accept your sales tax exempt information if we're shipping to your school. So that was a new thing that we've added in. We're also asking for a W-9. Again, this is just to verify the legal, accurate information we have for our accounting software and our records. I'll upload a sales tax exempt form here as well. Now we have the users associated with the fund. We'll add them here. This is again where you would see an office professional or assistant if you've granted them access to add to the drop down. and you can assign multiple users, and then enter in your phone number here. So once that's set up, most locals only have one education fund. We do have a handful of locals across the country that might have an education fund for their hot side and one for their cold side. In that case, you would need to create more than one education fund. But if that's not the case, once you have done that for this safety grant, you shouldn't have to do that ever again. You're good to go and can request grants at any time. It's kind of a one-time deal setting that up. So once you've added that, this green button now has appeared and you can click add a grant request. You're going to choose the education fund, which most of you will only have one, and read the grant guidelines. As the video pointed out, there are links in here. All of these links are also available up here on the resource tab, so you can access them prior to starting a grant. We're going to click read and accept the recital or the guidelines here. And as the video pointed out, there's a green check. We are going to confirm the education fund information here and choose which training center. Again, some locals have more than one training center, so if the bulk of the grant is going to have equipment shipped to that training center, you can choose the shipping address here. For, again, for the COVID grants, you just choose your primary school address. But as we go forward and do our regular grants, if you're going to have the bulk of your equipment sent to a secondary location, you can choose that address here. You also have the ability within the system to say you want 10 laptops going to your primary school and you want 10 laptops going to your satellite school. Choose your contact again. You'll have who you listed there and information. Financial statement you're going to upload. This is going to be your most recently audited financial statement. So hopefully for all of you, that's 2019's. If you have an older one, maybe if only 18 is finalized, then we would ask you to upload a balance sheet for the previous year, or even through second quarter of this year. Run that out of your accounting software such as QuickBooks or that. So we're going to upload those documents and click next. I do want to point out, and we are working on this to clean it up, but we do have some page landings. You see, I just clicked next and it threw me down here at question number 6. A lot of times when you click a button to go to a next stage, it might put you all the way at the bottom of the page, at the top, and you do find yourself having to scroll to get to where you need. We are aware of that problem and are hoping to fix it sooner than later. So we're in the survey module. We did take this opportunity, we added a few more questions because again, we're hoping to create a database from, a new database with all this information from your training funds. You're gonna enter in your training contribution, whether or not 10 cents is included in that figure. If your 10 cents is included in that figure, that most likely means you do not have a collective bargaining agreement. The date of your last increase to your local education fund and how much that increase was. If you have more than one training school, how many that you have, whether you offer day school, night school, or both. In the grant, in the new system, there is a follow-up question where we ask you what your schedule is. If you do, 1 week on, 1 week off, weekends only for day school, Monday through Wednesday night school only, so you can give us a little bit more information there. Your number of instructors, percentage of your active membership is apprentices. The UA's goal is to have 20% apprentices, and we use this as tracking to see over the years that you're growing your apprenticeship program. This is that question I said, when do you register your apprentices with the UA? How many registered apprentices you currently have? I'll scroll up to the top here. We do have in the dashboard Your apprentice count, I'm on a laptop screen, so the text has wrapped a little bit, but what we're looking at here is that Local 400 looks like they have about 15% to apprentice ratio with 345 apprentices. We have a 3-year snapshot, and what this is looking at is whatever month we're in. So we're in August, it's going to be the previous month end. So as of July 31st, the UA membership database has on file 345 apprentices, and then it's also looking at the previous years for that same time period. So this would be July 31st, 2019 and July 31st, 2018. So, you know, again, your rosters you're uploading should be pretty close to this number, give or take. That number there. When your school year starts and ends, how much money you currently have in your training fund. Make them look like they're pretty good. Unspent monies, any other financial aid. How many instructors attended ITP? Of course, we didn't have this year, so you can use your number from the previous year. How many military vets have you placed in the last 2 years? How many VIP graduates over the last 5 years? What recruitment efforts? How many recruits from the UA career site have you placed? Have you purchased all your textbooks from the bookstore? If no, explain why. Do your instructors use some of our training resources, such as the IRL, the SRL, Apprentice Hours app, and then what's your current unemployment rate? And then do you have an instructor qualified to teach CAD and BIM? All right. This is where you say whether the CBA has language for the 10 cents and upload just the page that has your collective bargaining agreement. And then for the grant purpose here, you know, typically for a regular grant, you're going to plead your case. For this, you know, just give a sentence or two on what you're intending to purchase or what you may have already purchased. Again, this money can be used for, if you've already purchased in the last few months, some, you know, safety, PPE stuff, you can still use that money for things that you have previously purchased, just not only what you're going to purchase. Purchase a fogger machine and social distance signage. Okay, so now that we've done all these checks, now we see that we have a new module that's pulled up here, request catalog items, request monetary items. Again, for this grant, we're only going to ask you to add this one catalog item. You know, anything else you would add, we would delete at this time, but in the future you would add, we would have this populated with all our catalog items, like our welders, our AV equipment, computers, and then you'd have the ability to add a monetary item. But for now, we just have the COVID-19 grant listed at $5,000. We will have the prereq roster here. It's not uploaded in this environment, but there will be a paperclip here you could pull and it will load up your apprentice roster. You can use this, you know, we gave this as a template for you to use for card number, name, and initiation date, but you can also upload, if you're able to run a report out of your apprentice tracking software, you can upload that as well. Just make sure you're indicating what month that you want to use your apprentice count. So we're going to click on the item here. All of this is pre-populated with the details of the item. We are only going to ask for one So whether you're going to receive more grant money or not, please just request one, and then when the training specialist gets assigned to your grant, they will do a review and update that if eligible. You are required here to upload that roster. For some reason, I see my Excel spreadsheets not pulling up in this file, so I'm gonna upload this COVID poster here, but you should be able to upload your spreadsheet there and add the item. It's gonna ask you to confirm the change. The change is you've added a new item to your grant, so you'll just click OK. And once that is added, it will bring you back here, and now, it's kind of hidden here, but take a look for it after you add that catalog item. Now you have this green button to submit to the ITF. So you click that, read the grant recitals. This is what the third page is of the old fax application. So same language there. This is going to be your electronic signature by clicking agree. If you do have your office professional or an assistant complete the grant application, they will not have the ability to electronically sign. Instead, they'll have a button here that says notify training coordinator, and when they click that, you'll receive an email to your UA email address that will have a link for you to log into the grant system and click the submit button. We did want to limit that to a fiduciary of the fund. So you click agree, and your grant has been submitted. And so now what you're able to do is peek up here at the dashboard. We see that the status of your grant is submitted. It was submitted today's date. It's already been assigned to somebody in the ITF office. Currently, we do a round robin for the grants where each week the ladies and Matt in the ITF office will take a look at all the grants and where they're at, whether we're missing a quote, missing any kind of backup, and we'll give you a call. So for your one grant, you may have talked to all 4 or 5 of us in the office. For this new system, as soon as you hit submit, ITF staff is assigned to your grant, and they will work with you from start to finish. So we're excited about that new function there. And then we see the state is operator review. And if you remember, when we're looking here at the states, we have operator review. This means that the ITF staff, so Tracy's taking a look at your grant, making sure you uploaded all the appropriate documents and everything looks good. If for some reason it is missing, if the roster's blank or it's you uploaded a picture from your family reunion, we're gonna send it back to you with a note on what needs to be changed, and you'll have the ability now to go back in and edit your grant. Currently, once a grant is submitted, you are not able to edit, and now you will be able to. So that's pretty cool too. So then throughout the grant, when you are on your home page here, you can see that you have one grant submitted to the ITF, and down here in your queue, you will see what state it's at. So you'll be able to track this and see where it is at any point. You'll also be able to click into the grant. As it moves along to other states, you'll have view only access up until disbursement, where then you'll have access to upload proof of purchases and things like that. Again, for the safety grant, you're not required to do that, but going forward. So that's everything on this grant process here. One thing that I wanted to also show is that when we do roll out the grant system for all the other grants, we're going to have a new feature here we're excited about. This is another test site that we have, and I'm logged in here as me, but I'm taking a look at Joe's grant, Joe's local here in 519. You'll have the ability on your homepage right now, there's no data loaded in here. You see this grant history module. and nothing's loaded. This is some fake data loaded in here, but in real life, you'll be able to take a look at all your previous grants. You'll be able to click them and it will pull over your grant history. And even more, what we're excited about is that you'll have the opportunity to search here for the last time you may have received an item. So you can type in keywords, see the last time you received something like this, water heater boiler back in 2019. You can take a look at, all the computer equipment you've received over the years, things like that. So this will be a really good tool, especially if you're a new coordinator coming on board, to see what equipment you've received from the ITF in the past. But again, for right now, we did not pull over that data for this round of COVID grants. So I think that's everything I have right there. I'm happy to take questions on anything.
Hey, Jocelyn, it's Joe Fernandez. One of the things I was noticing when you said to submit, the time frame that you had submitted, you had May 1st to September 1st, 2021. Is that right?
No.
That's what it said on the
It should be 2020. Yep.
Oh, okay, so
we had probably 5 people look at that, and so you're the first to say. So it should be 2020. Yeah.
Okay, no problem. Is there a time frame for which you want this if we're requesting this grant?
So we do have a deadline of September 30th to submit it by.
Okay.
That way, if for some reason your apprentice class is starting, September 8th, Tuesday after Labor Day, we'll honor that September number. So
okay.
Just let us know. We just wanted to make sure we knew that some classes turned out and some came in, and wanted to make sure you got your highest number to get the most out of the grant.
No problem. Right, because like the May 1st time, it was my highest number, but
Yeah.
since then they've turned out,
Right.
In June. So, but I could use that number you're saying.
Yeah, you can use the May number. Yes.
Okay, great.
So Jocelyn, Nick Brown, Local 502. So if we have a class that turned out in June and we didn't take our next class until July, we would have to make the determination on whether to use a June number or July number.
Yeah, whichever's higher. And, so if maybe you turned out 30 apprentices in June and you're only taking a class in of 15 in July, you're going to want to use your June numbers.
So we can't add
Double
all.
them. No.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Jocelyn,
I do see some chats down here too. So let me,
Jocelyn, our classes don't start until the 23rd of September,
okay.
but we've accepted our first years already.
Okay.
Can we use that number?
Do they have UA card numbers?
They will not have UA card numbers until October.
No, you cannot.
Okay.
Yeah. And I see a question about including trainees. Again, if they don't have a card number, we cannot count them. I think Mark McManus was a little intentional on this requirement for the grant guidelines as, encouragement to register your apprentices as soon as possible. If you don't have a W-9, you can just download one from the internet and put your EIN number in there and your legal name. That's no problem. And then it looks like somebody is having, sorry, I'm just reading the last question, issue uploading your CBA. I'll reach out to you one-on-one and see what's going on there. John, yep. All right, sorry, go ahead.
Jocelyn, it's Jason Shake. I had a question about the trainees.
Yes.
They are UA members, they have card numbers, but they're not registered apprentices.
Okay.
They're in a program that the JATC
They're not
runs.
registered through your state? Is that why, or they're not registered?
They're not in a registered apprenticeship program, but they are UA members that have a training program that is run jointly by my union and by my contractors through the JATC.
Okay, and they do have a card number.
They are members, they follow all the same stuff. They're in a training program, but it's not registered.
Yeah, let me just touch base with Jim on that. I would think if they're paying the 10 cents are they paying the 10 cents into the fund for their hours worked, then I would think that they could be included in that scenario, but I'll confirm that, Jason, and let you know. Okay. But if they are helper, you know, I know a lot of locals bring in helpers, maybe other trainees that do not have a CARB number. No, those would not be included.
Hey, Jocelyn,
Yes.
Jeff Berger from Local 322.
Hey, Jeff.
Where's the copy of that video? Because I want to watch that again.
Yeah, so let me share my screen one more time. So it's going to be when you're logged in on your homepage here, there's going to be a resource tab
Yep.
in the top right, and it's the first link.
Great. Okay. Thank you.
And the second link, I did not open this up, but it is a user manual. You know, it's almost 40 pages. It's a technical document, but it will also, if you're somebody who likes to read and kind of check off as you're going through it, this will also give you all the steps on what's needed to complete your grant, and how to access, and there's screenshots in here with highlighted things to kind of point out what you're supposed to be doing. So it's a big document, but it will kind of walk you through. Of course, you are always welcome to give me a call or give anybody in the ITF office a call. We'll happily walk you through it. We know it's a new system and it does take some getting used to. So we are here to help for that.
Jocelyn,
Yes.
this is John Holmes, Local 709 in Los Angeles.
Hey, John.
On the grant paperwork, it said cleaning supplies and all that.
Mhm.
What if we have gone through and hired a contractor to come in and disinfect?
Yes.
And then we're going to be doing an online periodic cleaning twice a week after that.
Yeah, you can definitely use the funds for that, you know, as long as it's cleaning of your school and not local units.
Correct.
You're doing
Yeah,
one service that's cleaning
Yeah, it's
the
disinfecting
building,
and
one side of the building, you know, keep it honest. You're going to be responsible for the record keeping on your end. So you just have to kind of draw down that $5,000 with appropriate use.
Yeah.
The cleaning service absolutely would.
because it's like a total reset, disinfect of everything, and then
Yeah, very cool.
maintenance where they touch. Okay.
Yep.
Hey, Jocelyn.
Yes.
Brad Hopping with Local 417.
Brad.
So I had noticed some on the grant page that we have some old information, and I did call technical support to fix that, but I didn't get a call back. So I just was wondering who would correct that information.
Yeah, it should be on the tech side, you know, that help desk. But if you want to shoot me an email, I can kind of follow through and make sure we get it updated before you initiate your grant or before it, you know, it gets too far in the queue.
All right, thank you very much.
The link right now is not on UANet to access. It's going to only be in that email, but I meant to do that on Tuesday, put a request to see if we can add the link there for you guys to get it on UANet. So we'll do that. Anything
Jocelyn,
else?
just to circle back, you said that certain programs, depending on how many apprentices they had and multiple training locations, would possibly qualify for more than the 5,000. Is that something that, as we were going through the steps in that video, when they're asking for multiple training centers, apprentice count, all that stuff, that's something that the UA, the ITF would determine?
Yeah, you are going to just give us all the information, and then when a training specialist is assigned, they will make any changes appropriately. You know, we have some guidelines from the Board of Trustees on how much they want to approve depending on different sizes and scenarios. So they're going to be kind of following that. You know, if your local is only going to get the $5,000, you probably won't receive a call from the training specialist. You know, since there are going to be so many grants to do, we're trying to make this as easy as possible for everyone. In the normal scenario, you know, the training specialist reaches out to your international rep. They'll call you for a phone interview, you know, but don't expect a call. And if they do call, you would probably be pretty brief. The international rep is still getting copied when your grant's submitted and goes through the steps, but the training specialists aren't going through the whole rigmarole that they normally do. Additionally, we're going to just assign training specialists like, you know, the first 25 locals will go to Ray Boyd. The second 25 may go to Rich Benkowski. The next 25 will go to Randy. I know some of you are probably used to working with one training specialist based on your straight line plumbing local, sprinkler fitting local, or maybe your geographic location. But for this, we're just going to kind of assign them as they come in. So
Thank you.
you'll also be receiving more emails through the stages as the grant contact. You know, in the current system, once you submit the grant, you know, unless you hear from one of us on the phone or the training specialist, you don't really know always what's going on. In this system, you know, once the training specialist makes that adjustment to your grant, if you're eligible, you'll get an email to know what that new amount is. So even if they didn't call you, you'll be notified by email of any changes made to the grant, to your UANet emails.
Hi, Jocelyn. It's John Holmes again. I have a question on that. I know it's not pertaining to the grant, but the issue with the UA emails. Earlier this year, I was asked to re-credential in my desktop at the office, and it would not reload the UANet email onto my computer.
Okay.
The only place I have it now is on my phone. I can't load it onto my laptop or my computer in the office.
I would reach out. I would shoot an email to that service desk. It's on that grant letter down at the bottom, and let them know your problem, because they should be able to help you out, and then even set up a redirect that anything sent to the your UANet email address goes right to your 709 email. That way you'll log in and check each account.
I was going to say, because it used to show both accounts on my desktop and my laptop. Now it doesn't.
Yeah, that sounds just like a glitch, like something needs to be re-downloaded or set up.
Okay, and I'll reach out to them. Thank you.
No problem. Another question I just got is about the timeline. So that's a great question, and I failed to talk about that. But the deadline to submit your grant is September 30th. As the grants come in, we are going to be assigning them to the training specialists and, you know, hopefully turning them around pretty fast. But we want to hold all the safety grants to present to a special trustee meeting. So we have that scheduled for mid to end of October, where the trustees will be able to review all 200 plus grants just for the safety, because our next meeting is in September, so we won't have everything ready then. So you'll expect your check end of October, early November at the latest. You know, we usually can turn these around pretty quickly, but the plan right now is to have them reviewed in October by the trustees and then disperse checks from there.
So Jocelyn, Joe Fernandez, just to confirm what you're saying. So if we do the grant, you want it strictly just for this COVID one, do not include anything else. Just that's strictly standalone.
Do not include anything else. You know, as we get towards the end of the deadline in September, or maybe, you know, early October, if you are looking to apply for a regular grant, give me a call, heads up, because we might use you as a guinea pig for a bigger grant in the new system. We're trying to find out when we're going to phase out the old system and do the new. I would like to have a few test locals in the new system before we open it up and kind of exercise some of those bugs and glitches out. So for anybody that's looking to do a grant in the fall, give me a call. We may have it worked in both systems, the old and the new. But I would appreciate a few guinea pigs when we do that.
Sounds good.
But for now, you know, in the next month or two, if you are needing laptops, welding equipment, things like that, go ahead and apply for it in the old system, unfortunately. I had a chat question about, will the ITF be linked with moms, or will they always be two separate logins? So for moms, most training coordinators do not have access to moms. That usually is just a business manager, local union office application. So they are going to be two separate sites. But you will use your same login and password for each of those sites, which will be your UA your UA email without the domain, without the @uanet.org and your UA password. All right, anything else? All right, are we all excited? No more faxing?
That's exciting. Yeah, no more faxing.
Yeah, we are excited too. We are excited.
Thank you.
Funny.
Thank you very much.
All right, thank you, everybody. Please feel free to call if you have any other questions.
Thank you.
Stay safe. Thank you. Good to see you guys.
Thank you. Bye.
Thank you, Jocelyn.